Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Cornelius Fudge. Some of the students swarming around them were grumbling about the match being cancelled. Others looked worried. Harry and Ron followed Professor McGonagall back into the school and up the marble staircase, but they weren't taken to anybody's office this time. "This will be a bit of shock," said Professor McGonagall in a surprisingly gentle voice as they approached the hospital wing. "There has been another attack, another double attack." Harry's insides did a horrible somersault. Professor McGonagall pushed the door open, and he and Ron entered. Madame Pomfrey was being over a sixth-year girl with long curly hair. Harry recognized her as a Ravenclaw that excellently asked for directions for the Slytherin common room. And on the bed next to hers was Hermione! Ron groaned. Hermione lay utterly still, her eyes open and glassy. "They were found near the library," said Professor McGonagall. "I don't suppose either of you can explain this. It was on the floor next to them." She was holding up a small circular mirror. Harry and Ron shook their heads, both staring at Hermione. "I will escort you back for Gryffindor Tower," said Professor McGonagall heavily. "I need to address the students in any case." All students were returned to their house common rooms by 6 o'clock in the evening. No student is to leave the dormitories after that time. You will be escorted to each by a lesson by a teacher. No student is to use the bathroom unaccompanied by a teacher. All for the Quidditch training and matches are to be postponed. There will be no more evening activities. The Gryffindors packed inside the common room listened to Professor McGonagall in silence. She rolled up the parchment from which he had been reading, and in somewhat choked voice. "I need hardly odd that I have rarely been so distressed. It is likely that the school will close unless the culprit behind these attacks is caught. I would urge anyone who thinks they might know anything about them to come forward." She climbed somewhat awkwardly out of the portrait hole, and the Gryffindors began talking immediately. "That's 2 Gryffindor down, not counting a Gryffindor ghost. 1 Ravenclaw and 1 Hufflepuff," said the Weasley twins. Friendly Jordan counted on his fingers. "Haven't any of the teachers noticed that the Slytherins are all safe? Isn't it obvious that this stuff is coming from the Slytherin, the heir of Slytherin, the monster of Slytherin? Why don't they just chunk all the Slytherins out?" He roared to nod and scare at the applause. Percy Weasley was sitting in the chair behind Lee, but for once he didn't seem keen to make his views hard. He was looking pale and stunned. "Percy's in shock," George told Harry quietly. "That Ravenclaw girl, Penelope Clearwater, she's a prefect. I don't think he thought the monster would have dared attack a prefect." But Harry was only half listening. He didn't seem to be able to get rid of the picture of Hermione lying on the hospital bed as though carved out of stone. And if the culprit wasn't caught soon, he was looking out at the lifetime back with the Dursleys. Tom Riddle had turned to Hagrid, and because he was faced with the prospect of a Muggle orphanage, the school closed. Harry knew exactly who he had felt. "What are we going to do?" said Ron quietly in Harry's ear. "Do you think they suspect Hagrid? We've got to go and talk to him," said Harry, making up his mind. "I can't believe it's him this time, but if he said the monster lose of the time, he'll know who get inside the Chamber of Secrets. That's a start. But McGonagall said we've got to stay in our tower unless we're in class." "I think," said Harry very quietly still, "it's time to get my dad's old cloak again." Harry had just one thing from their father, a long and silvery invisibility cloak. It was their only chance of sneaking out of the school to visit Hagrid without anyone knowing about it. They went to bed at the usual time, waited until Neville, Dean, and Seamus had stopped discussing the Chamber of Secrets and finally fallen asleep, then got up, dressed again, and threw the cloak over themselves. The journey through the dark and deserted castle corridors wasn't enjoyable. Harry, who had wandered the castle at night several times before, had never seen it so crowded after sunset. Teachers, prefects, and ghosts were marching the corridors in activity. Their invisibility cloak didn't stop them making any noise, and there was a particularly tense moment when Ron stopped his toe only yards from the spot where Snape was standing guard. Thankfully, Snape sneezed at almost exactly the moment Ron swore. It was with relief that they reached the oak front doors and expected them open. It was a clear, starry night. They hurried towards the lighted window of Hagrid's house and pulled off the cloak only when they were right outside his front door. Seconds later, after they had knocked, Hagrid flung it open. They found themselves face to face, with him aiming a crossbow at them. Fang the boarhound barked loudly behind him. "Oh, he said, lowering the weapon and staring at them. What are you doing here? What's that for? Said Harry, pointing at the crossbow as they stepped inside. Nothing, Harry muttered. I've been expecting... Doesn't matter, sit down, I'll make tea. He hardly seemed to know what he was doing. He nearly exhausted at the fire, spilling the water from the kettle on it, then smashed the teapot with a nervous jerk of his massive hand. Are you okay, Hagrid? Said Harry. Did you hear about Hermione? Oh, I heard all right, said Harry, Hagrid's slight break in his voice. He kept glancing nervously at the windows. He pulled up both large mugs of boiling water. He had forgotten to add tea bags and was just putting a slab of fruit cake on a plate when there was a loud knock on the door. Hagrid dropped the fruit cake. Harry and Ron exchanged panic-stricken looks. But he threw his invisibility cloak back over himself and retreated into a corner. Hagrid checked that they were hidden, seized his crossbow, and flung open his door once more. Good evening, Hagrid. It was Dumbledore. He entered looking deadly serious and was followed by a second, very odd-looking man. The stranger was a short, portly man with tumbled grey hair and an anxious expression. He was wearing a strange mixture of clothes, a pin-striped suit, a scarlet tie, a long black cloak, and pointed purple boots. Under his arm he carried a lime green bowler. That's Dad's boss, Ron breathed. Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic. Harry elbowed Ron hard to make him shut up. Hagrid had gone pale and sweaty. He dropped into one of his chairs and looked from Dumbledore to Cornelius Fudge. Bad business, Hagrid, said Fudge in rather clipped tones. Very bad business. Had to come. Vortex and Muggleborns. Things have got far enough. Ministry's got to act. I never, said Hagrid, looking improniously at Dumbledore. You know I never, Professor Dumbledore, sir. I wanted understood, Cornelius, that Hagrid has my full confidence, said Dumbledore, throwing a Fudge. Look, Albus, said Fudge uncomfortably. Hagrid's records had sent him. Ministry's got to do something. The school governors have been in touch. Yet again, Cornelius, I tell you that talking Hagrid boy will not have the slightest, said Dumbledore. His blue eyes were full of a fire Harry had never seen before. Look at it from the point of view, said Fudge, fighting with his bowler. I'm under a lot of pressure. Got to be seen to be going somewhere. If it turns out it wasn't Hagrid, he'll be back and no more sad. But I've got to take him. Go to. What am I going, my duty? Take me? Said Hagrid, who was trembling. Take me where? For a short stretch only, said Fudge, not meaning Hagrid's ask. Not a punishment, Harry, or a precaution. If somebody else is caught, you'll be let out in a full devour. Not Azkaban, said Hagrid. Before Fudge could answer, there was another loud rap at the door. Dumbledore answered it. It was Harry's turn for an elbow in the ribs. He had got out and audible gasped. Mr. Lucius Malfoy strode into Hagrid's hut, swathed in a long black traveling cloak. Smiling a cold, satisfied smile, Fang started to growl. Already here, Fudge, he said in gruff. Good. What are you doing here? Said Hagrid furiously. Get out of my house! My dear man, please believe me. I have no pressure inside your... do you call this a house? Said Lucius Malfoy, sneering as he looked around the small cabin. I simply called the school and was told that a housemaster was here. And what exactly did you want with me, Lucius? Said Malfoy. He spoke politely, but the fire was still blazing in his blue eyes. Dreadful things, Dumbledore, said Mr. Malfoy hazily, making out a long roll of parchment. But the governors feel it's time for you to step aside. This is an order of suspension. You'll find all 12 signatures on it. I'm afraid we feel you're losing your touch. How many attacks have there been now? 2 more this afternoon, wasn't it? At this rate, there'll be no Muggleborns left at home. They all know the awful laws that would be so cruel. Oh, now, see here, Lucius, said Fudge, looking alarmed. Dumbledore suspended. No, let's think we want just now. The appointment or suspension of Fudge, said Mr. Malfoy smoothly, as Dumbledore has failed to stop these attacks. Now look, Lucius, if Dumbledore can't stop them, whose lip was trapping now? I mean, to say, who can? There remains to be seen, said Mr. Malfoy with a nasty smile. But as all 12 of us have voted, Hagrid leaped to his feet, his shaggy black hat grazing the ceiling. And how many times did you have that threatened and blackmail before they agreed, Malfoy, eh? He roared. Dear, you know the temper of yours will lead you into trouble one of these days, Hagrid, said Mr. Malfoy. I would advise you not to shout the Azkaban guards like that. They won't like it at all. Yeah, I can take Dumbledore, yelled Hagrid, taking Fang to the bureaucrat's state. Take him away and the Muggleborns won't stand a chance, and they'll be killing next. Calm yourself, Codred, said Dumbledore sharply. He looked at Lucius Malfoy. If the governors want my removal, Lucius, I shall of course step aside. But, stuttered Fudge. No, growled Hagrid. Hagrid. Dumbledore had not taken his bright blue eyes off Lucius Malfoy's grey hounds. However, said Dumbledore, speaking very slowly and clearly so that none of them could miss a word, you find it that I will find only truly have led the school when none here are royal to me. You will also find that help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. For a second, Harry was almost sure Dumbledore's eyes flickered towards the corner where he and Ron stood hidden. Admirable sentiments, said Malfoy, blowing. We shall all miss you. A highly individual way of running things, Albus, and only hope that your successor will manage to prevent any, killings. He strode to the cabin door, opened it, and bowed to Dumbledore out. Fudge, finding his bowler, waited for Hagrid to go ahead of him, but Hagrid stood his ground, took a deep breath, and said carefully, if anyone wanted to find out some stuff, what they'd have to do would be to follow the spiders. That's to lead them right. That's all I'm saying. Fudge stared at this amazement. All right, I'm coming, said Hagrid, pulling out his moleskin overcoat. But he was about to follow Fudge through the door. He stepped aside and said loudly, and someone will need to feed Fang while I'm away. The door banged shut, and Long pulled the invisibility cloak off. We're in big trouble now, he said hoarsely. No, Dumbledore. They might have been as well close the school tonight. Will be an attack, and the day with him gone. Fang started howling, scratching at the closed door.